Hey, Darrell, welcome to the NTM Growth Marketing Podcast.
I'm super pleased to be here and let's grow some marketing. Boom.
I love right before we hit record, you said that was going to be your happy face. So I love the excited intro you just gave exactly with that face.
Exactly. Well, marketing is theater, and I'll just jump right in on that for a second because
Definitely.
people don't understand that, like, when the camera comes on or when you're ready to do that sales call or ready to answer that post or whatever you're doing in marketing, right? Doesn't matter how your day went, doesn't matter how anything went. Boom, you're on, right? And you got to answer with a smile and be pleasant to people and nice to people. And believe it or not, that's a lot of the percentage of marketing working well, right? Is that. But there you go.
So let me ask you this then. How did you learn that skill? And let's just keep on fast forwarding as you were sharing before we hit record. It was a cool story of what happened that actually led you to your current brand.
Well, that's two different questions. So, in terms of like smiling and being on camera, I was a child actor. So, I had a talent agent in New York City. I grew up in New Jersey. From age 9 to age 16, I did everything from being the voice of Scooter Computer on ABC's Schoolhouse Rock, which we are currently celebrating approximately 40 years of computers.
Wow.
Around 1982, 83 was the Atari 400. A little bit later came the Apple IIc. They had the Commodore 64. Like, it's only been 4 decades of us having some sort of computer. So from there, I went on to do a lot of playwriting, winning the National Playwrights Festival when I got out of high school, going all the way through college, doing playwriting and theater directing and all of that. And then the next year, I was selling computers at Radio Shack. My talent agents told me that I would be a character actor now that I'm not the cute kid anymore. And I missed, as you can tell, if you're watching this instead of listening to it, but you can Google my name and all that. I missed that Leonardo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt look by like that much. Like, it's so close. You can see the resemblance. And then I decided to start. So HTML came out when I graduated with my master's degree in communications. And that was a big, amazing thing for us to imagine what this web could do. And I've been in this business long enough to know when people were trying to develop things like PayPal. I mean, this is way before we even got into social media, like,
Right.
how to develop e-commerce, how to do the first banner ads and make them, into categories, and how would we advertise this thing, and the whole thing. Fast forward to 6, 7 years ago, the internet really had to get fast enough for me to do what I do today, which is run the fastest moving video content marketing agency on earth. I was working with a client where I write these amazing, dramatic, really short, what we would call inbound marketing. Today, they're called funnel. I don't like funnels, but I don't bake. I'm a bachelor. I don't use a funnel at all. That's a joke. Inbound marketing landing pages are really emotional. And when I was working with her, I started to say, well, could you slow down here and really look at the camera and really punch that word at the end? And she told me, this is great. I need a theater director for my marketing. And I said, I haven't done theater directing in like 30 years. Like, what are you talking about? And then it slowly, gradually hit me that business people need to become better performers or learn how to perform, right, on camera. So we'll pause the story there, but that was the beginning of what then became Stern Storming and this video marketing agency that I, run today.
Perfect. Tell us a little bit then of how everything got connected with OsteoStrong.
Well, if you want to jump to that, there's two stories before that I'll tell before we
Sure.
get to OsteoStrong, because there's two stories. So one was in 2016, I met an auto mechanic in Denver that he was a living Wikipedia of fixing cars. And I love to work with people that are super experts in their field. And you've met these kind of people. You mentioned whatever it is, JavaScript, cars, Star Wars, or whatever it is, mountain climbing, whatever it is. And they go, boom, like into this highly intellectual, like, lecture about it. And they know so much about it, right? Those people are easy to then pull content from. So most marketing agencies go, oh, here, we'll make you some marketing, and here's your marketing, right? Like, here's the branding, here's the ideas that we came up with for this look or this campaign. And I go, that's ridiculous. The content is in the people, and everyone in the world is a gift to the world, and the world needs your gifts. And most of those gifts are things that you kind of skip over in life. So auto mechanic, super, super good. I decided I'll go video this guy every single week, But I've also been doing something called search engine optimization since 2000, when I worked at a big software company. Before there even was a Google, we were doing DMOZ, those geeks out there that know about this stuff, and Yahoo and all this other kind of stuff, Excite, all this other kind of things. So I thought, why don't I take these videos, hyper optimize them on YouTube, because I love YouTube as a search engine tool, and then transcribe them and write out the articles. What I found is that when I pulled out the content of this guy going, single plane brakes, double disc brakes, oil change carburetor, shocks, the Mercedes-Benz from 1963, it has the same carburetor as the Dodge Spider from this year, and just on and on and on. I could interlink the keywords in the content, which is what most people still in blogging don't understand, how SEO really works, and that you're building an index of your own content by interlinking things together. And when the web was made, I always look at, my father was a philosophy professor. And I go, well, why was this made? What is the core philosophy of this? So HTTP is hypertext transfer protocol. That means I can send you text really fast instead of you having to go to the bookstore, right? Or get it in the mail, which was 1992, right? You had to order the book in the mail. And then HTML is a markup language. If you know Unix and you know the old computers and mainframes, the text just comes along in a single line. It is one big long sentence. So it doesn't look beautiful like a newspaper or magazine. So you got to mark up the text to go paragraphs, bold, italics, lists, whatever. So that took that stream and made that markup language to make it into that. Okay, so the auto mechanic went nuts. He went from $50,000 a month to $600,000 a month. We hit it on a video that made him $7.9 million on the Jeep death wall. We'll talk about that later in terms of reverse engineering going viral. And I made his building bigger. Like, investors came along, moved him from a little auto mechanic shop in some industrial park down to Main Street, Denver, up to 25 mechanics. And he, by 30 years old, was running the single largest location auto mechanic shop in the world. And all I did was go, what else can you teach? Like, look at these cars. Where is there a good story in these cars? And he'd go, oh, this is a good story. And he would just say, okay, hold on, ready, action. And he would just nail it. No pausing, no, oh, I screwed up. Sorry, let's do that again. Nothing. Like, nailed it. And that's how we were to go. We were able to go so fast, where we would put out 6 or 7 of these a week, just like the younger content creators. I had just gone to Snapchat. Snap happened in 2016 in London. This is when Snapchat took off. So I'm on Snapchat, and this kid is running a game show. He's got these beautiful girls with him, and he's on the show. And I go, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing for a living? He says, oh, I'm a Snapchat content creator. And I said, I'm in my mid 40s. I'm like, I need to retire from this business. Like what happened to what happened here? Like, we were making websites and SEO and, e-commerce and all this. And now these kids are just having fun being themselves. And what I noticed was that younger people have not been divorced. Their mom didn't die of cancer. Their father didn't die before that. They didn't marry the wrong girl. All this stuff that happened to me and happened to a lot of middle-aged people. They're just happy and in the joy of creating and teaching what they know, as they are a gift to the world. So I said, why can't business people do that? Why can't a dentist, a lawyer, this and that, whatever, do that? COVID hits, bam, the store is closed. I talked to a Reiki healer, and she's like, I'll do this and bring people over. I'm like, you can't. It took a while for people to realize you can't do that now. Like, you can't run your in-person meeting business. Right. So I turned to online courses. My mom invented the Gifted and Talented program in Rahway, New Jersey. I grew up making curriculum. So I had a dad who's a philosophy professor, cognitive thinking, logic, that led me to SEO and that. But then the teaching part was like how to take anything and make it into an online course. Here's the next part. So the second person I worked with said, well, I don't want to film this remotely. I'll fly you to Washington, D.C. with my mask and my disinfectants. It was like Apocalypse Now. Like, you go to the airport at Denver at 2:00 p.m. I'm the only one in the airport. It was like, you know what I mean? Those movies where everyone's dead on the planet but you, and you're the only survivor of the whatever apocalypse. It was crazy. So what I realized is I could sit in the director chair like we're shooting the movie of your life, right? Scene 1, we're in your room, and we're going to shoot all the scenes where you daydream about what happened when you were 10, and we're going to cut to that, and we're going to make this movie. So I figured out a way to get people to tell stories in about 4 minutes long, time them, kind of go like 4, 3, 2, 1, teach them how to land a story so
Hmm.
that by the end of it, it's just like, wow, yes, I want to talk to you. Like, wow, that's so interesting. I want to type in a comment, engagement. Okay, great. So she ends up saving 6,500 something people from cancer because she cured her own cancer going on a vegan alkaline diet. Here's the funny thing. She sells vegan food kits and she has 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. And in the middle of it, she says, oh yeah, I cured my own cancer, on this plan, whatever. And I'm like, I'll bleep myself out. You cured your own bleeping cancer and you're not teaching, you understand what you know and making that a product. Okay, so that ended up being all these courses. Then I'm at the event in New Jersey. We're starting to take our masks off. And in the hallway of the event, I see her that this guy, Kyle, has an international franchise. And he said to me, do you run a marketing agency? I said, yes. He said, well, we need a new direction in marketing. I said, boy, have I got one. So then, and you tell me where you want to pause and ask me another question, but I'll tell you the rest of
Yeah, I
that. So
love
then,
this story.
yeah, so then I created, years ago, I started in this idea of content extraction, that somewhere there's a story in you, not only that can go viral, but something that happened to you when you were 5 or 10 or 7 or 2. That line of your life is why you are how you are today. Now, if you want to go from a scientific perspective, by the time you're 10 years old, your personality is pretty much set up. So if you're annoying at 10, you're like annoying today. So it's funny. So what I do is I do an exercise where I kind of hypnotize you, go all the way back to when you were 0 years old and tell me the day you were born, where you were born, what did your parents do? What was the first thing you felt, saw, everything. And by the time we do that first 90 minutes, I've jotted down 700 things and we're only up to like high school. Like we're not even into college yet. And we already have all these stories. Then we go and say, okay, well, where is the theme of your life? Now, the reason for that is this, and I'll give you an example from my own thing. I always start out the story with a story of how I seizured when I was born. And then my parents bought this house for $17,000 in 1972. And then I had this cardboard box, they threw it away, and I really had an emotional attachment to a box. Okay, fine. But then one time I did it and I said, wait a minute. When I was about 3 or 4, I went over to my father and said, my favorite storybook, I was raised on Disney movies, black and white TV, Mickey Mouse Club, this is 1970s. My favorite storybook was Peter Rabbit. And I said to my dad, out of the blue, I'm going to dictate to you my entire one-man show starring me as Peter Rabbit. And I had bunny pajamas. And my dad's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, get out a pad and a piece of paper, the bossy kid. Just do it. And I just, from memory, told him the whole story with the stage directions, where I'm going to hop on stage and what the props I use and all that. And he was like, this is nuts. Like, this is cool. So he took me to his college, set up the bleachers, and without any stage fright or hesitation, I just marched up there and said, okay, welcome. This is my story of Peter Rabbit. And I just put on my own one-man show that I wrote, produced, and directed when I was 3. The reason why I do that, I say that, is that's now the pillar of my keynote talk that has made me hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. Because what I say then, after that story and demonstrating how I made this auto mechanic famous and OsteoStrong and all this, is I say, I want you to become my new Peter Rabbit, right? The story that I listen to and I fall in love with, and I learn how to I dramatize and put into segments and stories and all that we're going to put on the digital stage. Okay, so same thing. I did this with Kyle. We did the Stern storming. Kyle said, yes, let's do it. That was on a Wednesday. He said, I'll be in St. Louis Friday. I flew to St. Louis, met everybody. They were doing a training out there, flew home to Phoenix, which was silly because the next day I was going to fly to Nashville, which is only, I didn't know, but geography. So I fly to Nashville, I go to his house, and in 3 days, we record like 150 videos, an entire online course on bone density.
Wow.
Because I already had the list of all the points from his life that I remembered. I was like, tell this story, tell that. Oh, that story is good. Let's make sure to tell this story, that story.
And ask a question within that. And I think it will help to bring this home. And so
yeah.
When I hear education on bone density, I think that my mind immediately goes, that's probably boring. But knowing you and your ability to extract a story and make it important to individuals, how did you take a topic that I'm sure someone has told that hasn't resonated, it's been boring, it hasn't caught on, to making it attractive and enticing and something someone wants to fall in love with?
Yeah. So all you have to do to answer that question is like go on LinkedIn. All these big influencers, the young influencers, went over to LinkedIn around 2018. The reason why is because Snapchat did not do anything to support the content creators. And then Facebook tried to lure them over to Instagram. They didn't really like the interface so much as Snapchat. And yes, there's influencers there. But then LinkedIn got native video, which means you can upload a video into LinkedIn. It's not on YouTube. It's in LinkedIn. Well, then all these kids came over and said, we're going to start to do our fun storytelling TikTok kind of videos, right? And it flipped LinkedIn over into being this business environment where people could be transparent. They could talk about, their failures as a CEO. They could tell their really great stories. And then like today, if you go to LinkedIn, what does it say in the front of it? How many followers you have, like Instagram. Hold on, this is supposed to be a business resume network, like for business, right? So ask me the next question, because I'm jumping off the train of where I'm going with that. But ask me the next question, the follow-up question.
It was around how do you make that story
exciting? Okay. Yeah, right. So here's the thing. So I could tell you this. I could tell you like bone density is important. If your bones break when you're 25 years old, you're more than 50% more likely to have a hip fracture by the time you're 70. I'm sorry, I just put myself to sleep. Or I could have Kyle tell the story of when he was wrestling when he was a kid, and the guy grabbed him and kind of pile drive him in the ground, almost broke his neck, and had 20, 30 years, of pain. And then finally, when he discovered and saw this osteogenic loading, which is actually based on a 150-year-old scientific theory, it's actually 150 years old, the idea behind OsteoStrong, which is osteogenic loading, which I'll explain in a second. When he tells that story about how then that helped him get out of this pain, right? And then he thought, wow, this is something that I need to share, and I need to make this into a franchise so other people can get out of their pain. That goes boom. We also did a story where his baby, one of his sons, got very ill. He had to go to the hospital with his baby, and they had to give injections into the infant, and the baby knew sign language. So the baby's trying to get these, they're trying to hold the baby down, and the baby's going like this, the sign language for no, which is shaking your hand back and forth like horizontally. And Kyle starts to tear up in this video, remembering this. And we ended up putting that out on Thanksgiving, because we should all be thankful for our families, and those of us who are living and loving and all that kind of stuff. And it blew up all over the place. Again, so I can go. So here's a philosophical difference before we get into the rest of it. Your advertising department is not your marketing department. And what has happened with ClickFunnels and Facebook ads and Google ads and all the other ads is that has become what they're calling digital marketing. Marketing is not advertising, right? Getting people to make a split decision and order one spatula. And if you order within the next 5 minutes, you'll get 10 spatulas, which is basically what ClickFunnels was built for, to do a bump, to do an order bump and all that. That's great if I'm selling spatulas. But if I'm trying to move people to understand that they could live longer and do more with their lives, that kind of thing doesn't necessarily work. What does work is that all these people in this company are now biohackers when they own the company. They have the coolest, most high-tech Tony Stark Jedi training academy, kryptonite, what is that called? Superman goes to the Fortress of Solitude, Batcave that you've ever seen, for like making you stronger without lifting weights and being a pumped up, kind of weightlifter and all that.
Tell us a little bit more then on your content strategy. I think that's such a great point of the amount of education I'm sure you need for an individual to go to one of your centers versus a spatula you can buy off of Amazon, Prime it, it's there tomorrow.
There's the other point, right? Is this is not e-commerce, right? So we've got to really build brand awareness, but also give people hope, right? That they can live longer without pain. We can't say cures anything and all that kind of stuff and the tricky medical stuff, but we can give people hope that they can live a longer life and stay strong, longer in their life. So we started off doing Kyle's videos, and of course he's geeking out on this bone density and what it's about, and knows uber facts about nutrition and all kinds of crazy cool stuff. But then I knew I wanted to go out and get the stories of the clients doing it. So the first person was Herb. He was in South Dakota. I just moved to Arizona, sunny, no snow, beautiful. And now in November, I'm going to go to South Dakota. So I get off the plane and I zoom out and I realize Mount Rushmore is 20 miles away. So I told her, we got to take me to Mount Rushmore. We did. It was like 30 degrees. I was like, okay, I saw it. Let's go to the gift shop because it's cold. But okay, so he lined up 76 people. So in 3 days, I shook hands with and got 76 video testimonials. But I had them do this. You talked about like what's a marketing fail. I had never done this before where I go on site and do video testimonials. And I'm planning on starting a whole new division of my business about getting video testimonials from people where I direct it, where I fly around, I'll meet you at your place and film them. The reason is, if you ask most people for a testimonial, they go, it's great. I like it.
Yeah. Love
like a 30-second video. And you're like, okay, well, that's not the story of it. So when we first started it, I had them say, hi, where you're from, how did you learn OsteoStrong, da, da, da. But the bang moment didn't really happen until 3/4 of the way in. So when we first started to put these out, Kyle told me, they're kind of boring. I don't get what you're doing. So I went back and I said, okay, we've got to edit them and put that bang moment that usually happens, 2 minutes in up the front, and then go and tell their story. So we did that. But then when I did the second batch, which is in St. Louis, Mike Bowie is a husband, a pastor, a pilot. He has a little plane built in 1969. I sat in his 2-seater plane. We get to fly around at 1,500 feet off the ground, and I got to pilot a plane. It was super awesome. Super guy. When I did those, I said, okay, first to the person, like, what is your aha moment? Like, since joining OsteoStrong, I now don't have back pain. And I, used to have bad back pain. Or I got a DEXA scan. They said I'm going to have osteoporosis and I don't want to take these drugs because I've heard of the side effects. So I started doing OsteoStrong or something like that. So we did that. I said, what is your aha moment? Then I asked, who are you? Where you're from? How do you find out about it? But then I asked this critical question, which is 5 to 10 years from now, what do you still want to be doing that you can still do now? And I taught them repeat after me. So they said 5 to 10 years from now, I still want to be able to take care of my kids, or I still want to be able to be a waitress because I'm in my 70s and I take care of my grandkids because the parents aren't around, which is another whole working class. So all these stories started coming out, and we got one right now that's going viral about a lady who was 8 years old, spinal cord smashed in a car accident, 20 years of pain, did everything that doctors would do, all the drugs and all that stuff, still had the pain, started going to OsteoStrong, and now the pain is manageable. She can walk around with hardly any pain. And she says at the end, if they'll have me, I'll come here the rest of my life. This has given me back hope. And she like giggles about it. And it's just like, oh my God, like what a, like gold plated testimonial this is. So it's not that. So here's the other thing. If I have one sheet of paper, right, I can drop it, I can fold it in half, right? If you go to Staples and buy those packs of 500 pounds of paper, those big giant boxes, me, I need a wheelbarrow or a cart or something to bring them all over to my eye, like it's heavy. So if you take one video and then another, and then another, and then another, and another, and another, and another, and another, and another, marketing is driving meaningful conversations, but marketing is also telling your story over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, and being relentless about it and not judging the result, right? Not going, oh, well, this video only got 2 hits. We'll wait 6 months because those videos now have 1,000. These have 200. These have 300. Like it's starting to compile into itself. And then we're doing our magic where we take the videos, transcribe them, and do the SEO and all that kind of stuff. So the website now has 200 pages and articles on it.
Right.
And I shot within a month and a half. I was in South Dakota, St. Louis, Porterville, downtown LA, Studio City, which is Hollywood. I can't tell you who goes to OsteoStrong, but some people from some famous sitcoms that take place in a building. And then I can't tell you who those people are, but and then all around, I had shot about 550 videos. which we're putting out one a day. So here's the other thing about OsteoStrong. We had done, 6 or 7 a week, but we're just doing YouTube, right? And Facebook, maybe 2 platforms. This, we're doing Kyle's LinkedIn, the LinkedIn page for the business, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, like 5 or 6 platforms every single day with these videos. So we're doing, again, like content creator, because I know a lot of young people that they film their content every morning, they edit it in the afternoon, and they're putting it out every day. And they get what they're doing. They're doing that content creator kind of stuff. Only I'm doing it for a big business, and it's starting to, show those kind of results as this business now has a breadth and a scope, this franchise. And we can get more into that in terms of what the difference between a franchise and like a local auto mechanic and all that kind of stuff.
Let me ask you this question.
Yes.
That's top of mind for me. It's clear you have a ton of paying customers, happy paying customers. What advice do you have for a brand to turn customers into raving fans who become your ambassador?
Well, the first thing is culture. The person that invented inbound marketing, HubSpot, right? If you've heard of that software, way back years ago at a conference, talked about the inbound marketing experience, which is the initial, landing page, right? Giving them the content, the follow up on that content, the bringing them into the client, the serving the client with the product, and then the continuing relationship after that. And the book on marketing, the opening story is this guy that goes to a Nordstrom's and he buys shoes. And 3 days later, after buying the shoes, the salesman calls him and says, hey, I'm Bob, hey, Joe, how are the shoes doing? Who the hell calls you when you buy shoes, right? Like, who does that? So it talks about how, and this is turned into marketing automation and messenger bots and all kinds of things you can mechanize, but still, it's this entire experience in terms of defining and working on culture. And that's both inside the business and outside the business, right? And working on that culture. That culture is what creates raving fans. Facebook doesn't do that. Do you get me? Like it's not like social media creates raving fans, right? But it's establishing the whole culture and then how all the communications, both internally, externally with customers and all that, works all the way through. The thing that touched me about OsteoStrong is I'm divorced 11 years. I have a curvature in my one shoulder, like mouse shoulder. This is all scar tissue from using the mouse and sleeping on the side and being round shouldered on one side. And the lady there, when you get to the postural machine, because there's 4 different machines in Spectrum that do different bone groups, she took the middle of my back and my shoulders and she went like this. And she lifted me back up. No one lifted me. No one like, this internet marketing business. We're in a closet. We're in a broom closet, right? On our computer all day. Like, no one's touching, no one's caring for me. You know what I mean? Really? So that moved me spiritually. And I said, that's what we're selling, right? Is that these people actually care. When you go to OsteoStrong, you work with a session coach that takes you through each machine and positions you the right way and cheers you on and gets you to hit your growth trigger, which we can talk about what that means, and all that. So that's what I've been teaching them. I used to run, and I still do run, a $7 a month marketing jam session. We just pay $7 a month and we meet a couple times a month and we just ask me anything. I'll teach you this, I'll teach you that, which I do just for the fun of it. And I also do because so many people don't have a basic understanding of how any of this stuff works. And they're wasting a lot of time and money, on the interwebs doing stuff that doesn't work. So ask your next question or ask the continuation.
Tell us a little bit about that acceleration. You mentioned it for just a brief second there. Tell us how you've done that with some brands.
So I'll start off with OsteoStrong. So what I realized is that you follow Shanae Moret. She's a big influencer on LinkedIn. She was starving and her daughter was starving, single mom, in around 2018. She Googles, how can I get a job? I need to make some money, feed my kid. Up pops LinkedIn. So she goes on LinkedIn, fills it all out, but then she realizes, she sees that these influencers are doing these videos. So she goes and looks at them and goes, well, how many videos did it take them to go viral? Like to have one really take off, and what format and how do they write it and what do they do, and really studied it. So a lot of them were like 20, if they already were famous, somebody famous, 23, 33, 100, whatever. It took her 163 days, right? It was the better part of a year, every single day making a video, but she always made it as to serve others first, right? And how she could help you, not anything really about herself or her situation or anything like that. Mm-hmm. And then finally she hit the mark, went viral with one post, and now she teaches like the format of how to write those type of things. So leading to the next part, we may be diverting off the topic, but I consider this media marketing to be a form of performance art. In other words, in the poetry, the line spacing, the amount of words on a page, the flow of a really great story, the imagery, the how you do all this and all of that put together. So I took my marketing jam sessions and I started doing them at no cost for OsteoStrong, where I invited all the franchise owners and all their session coaches in to teach them how to use personal branding, which is what Shanae has done. The brand is her. Mm-hmm. She teaches people how to go viral on LinkedIn. That's what she teaches. That's what she did for herself. That's what she ended up doing. She has 1.1 million followers on LinkedIn. Yeah, she's awesome. And I took her class because I want to learn what these kids are doing. We can have mentors that are old. Usually you would think of a business mentor, someone older than us with more business experience. But I also talk to a lot of younger people and sign up for their programs and all that, because I want to see, because they grew up, going like that. I'm texting really fast for those of you who can't see. Like they grew up on their phone, then they're going, so when I got my first text message, I was 39 years old. And this person texted me paragraphs, like if you say, and I got text back, YES, send, like yes, like that's, I can't type really fast on my phone. Then I figured out you can talk into the phone and have it transcribe it, but it never understands my New Jersey accent. So that's a problem. So what I started to realize was that to market this brand, we had to make every one of these OsteoStrong owners, the managers, and the session coaches into personal brands, where we're all biohackers. We all are sharing this content. We're all doing Facebook stories. We're all sharing big, long posts on LinkedIn. We're all interweaving them and all that kind of stuff. This old-fashioned term called grassroots, right? To say, hey, let's go grassroots with this and work with everyone individually to do it. And those that are adopting it and learning what I'm doing, they're starting to get there. The next part is I have never placed an ad for myself ever, right? I just go meet people. So here's the funny thing about business. I don't care what you own, a barbershop. I don't care if you're selling stuff online. I don't care what. So you sit in your office and you wait, right? You play some ads and you wait. And you sit there and you wait. Hey, Charlie, have we gotten any money today? I don't know. What do you want to do? Let's have some lunch. Okay. What do you want to do this afternoon? I don't know. We can go play shuffleboard and just wait. Go out and meet people. Marketing is meeting people. Meet more people. There's what are we up to now? When I was a kid, it was 6 or 7. Now it's 8 billion freaking people on the world. And you're telling me you can't go out and meet 10 new people a day. I don't care if it's online at the Starbucks, at the Chamber of Commerce meeting. I don't care if it's whatever. But now you can get more scientific than that. So a lot of people look at social media that are my age and older and go, oh, it's horrible curse. So it's horrible. So let's go back to 1989, 83, 76, or even 1992, right? You have a business, right? So what is your business, Andrew? What is your main business?
I would say our core competency is Facebook advertising.
Facebook advertising. Okay. So you want to sell people, right? Facebook advertising, and there might be a lot of businesses locally, just across the street from you, over here, over there, whatever, that don't know they don't get on Facebook. They don't understand the power of Facebook advertising. And your Facebook advertising to sell people Facebook advertising. You see where I'm going with this? Well, they're not going to see your ad because they never do it to understand what it is. So what do you got to do? You got to go out and meet people. right? And I do that through networking. I network a lot on LinkedIn, but I also network by going out and doing public speaking, getting involved in big public speaking events, by writing a book, by doing all these kind of things that allow me to, meet more people. And also, telling personal stories about my life. I'm very transparent about everything in my life, and, all these kind of things. But that's how I've gotten all of my leads and all this kind of stuff, is through that. Now, you're always going to beat me in terms of how fast, right, you can get some leads now, right? And there's also, in every kind of business, like ethics behind that, because OsteoStrong does Facebook ads. In fact, they open every center with Facebook ads, and they got an excellent guy that does that, and that's wrapped into their whole franchise launch thing, which is great. The issue with that is, well, is there a limit to it, or is there a thing, or nobody's putting on Facebook like, I have osteoporosis.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, no one's putting like, my knees hurt. Like, people usually keep their pain a secret. So can you really, really reach them that way? Or is there another way to reverse engineer and try and find that? So, and I talk to big companies that are spending, they have 35 people on their marketing staff, they, $50 million ad budget, and they sell $250 million worth of some product or supplement online. And they're starting to say, we need some organic content. You know what I mean? Like, we just need to reach people organically to get, where it is and all that kind of stuff. So I always do, it's always a combination, and I will tell you this, and this, especially with the crackdown, but I knew it years ago, is that, no one's on, what made Facebook famous? This is a great story I like to tell. Do you know what database field made it famous?
No, I was thinking, but no.
Okay.
What is it?
Male, female, job, where you live. No, he added a secret button, or a very important button, and you see it when you're on there. It's called relationship status. So I can see if she's single or not. And that was what made Facebook. That's what made people with colleges, campuses, this. That's what made it really shoot through the roof, because I could see if she's got a boyfriend or not, or if she's got a boyfriend or whatever, he's got a boyfriend, whatever, girlfriend, whatever. So I look at everything philosophically to go, well, that's a dating site. You know what I mean? It's a personal thing for people to share their personal stories and all that. Why the heck would they want to be interrupted with, your ad? Because I'm there to socialize and network and all that kind of stuff. Whereas YouTube or something else, where I'm watching TV, I'm used to TV commercials. I know things are sponsored by things. You know what I mean? I'm more used to like seeing that kind of content, or the Facebook story, the ad has to really look like it's like a post, right? And the greatest Facebook ads really just look like a story, and you don't even realize you're seeing an advertisement. And those that are doing that are the ones that are winning more than those that are going, get 50% off, whatever today.
Let me end our interview today with this question. And I think this is a good transition into it. TikTok is on so many people's mind right now. Tell us a little bit about how TikTok can be an effective storytelling platform for brands.
Okay, so cool question. So there was Lively, Musically, all these other songs, and then finally they changed it in TikTok. I'll give you a hint. Like, Instagram was pictures and didn't adopt a video fast enough, so they kind of missed the boat on that. Also, this is our new screen that we're looking at every day, not this, the movie theater, the desktop computer, and all that. And I'm holding my phone vertically with it. So vertical content works. The other thing is that TikTok is built for a phone. In other words, you could swipe and go up and down and left and right and navigate it on the phone. It's built for a phone. It's not built for a desktop computer. So the whole UI and interface of it and all that kind of stuff is built that way. I think it is marvelous that I saw a young Irish lady who makes animal pajamas. Okay, reached 1 million followers, and I saw her live where she was crying. She couldn't realize she made 1 million followers, and she's set for life. She will make, someone's going to invest in her, manufacture these animal pajamas, and it's freaking cool and it's freaking adorable. So there's two parts of that. One is the influencers. Okay, so when Snapchat started, big brands said, how do we reach this Gen Z, whatever they're called. I was Gen X. I don't know what they're called now, whatever. Millennials after the millennials. So how can we reach them if they're not watching TV? They're not listening to the radio. They're not doing anything. How do we reach them? So they started to take these content creators and work with them to create content that would fit with their thing. So now you've got these kids getting sent free samples of makeup, especially the women and the young ladies, to demo that they're wearing this. And that's a whole industry unto itself. And there's talent agents, just like I had a talent agent for acting to get me the part, and they work together with them to do that kind of stuff. The second part is that because it's quick and sharp and fast and funny and all the things that it is on TikTok, when an ad agency, digital marketing, but I call it advertising agency, going back to New York City and advertising agencies, which is really where that came from. When it's quick and fast and funny, it fits right in. And it's so easy to go click buy, click sign up. I engineer it so it's just click buy. It takes me 5 seconds and to give the lead, to give the information over, or click buy, cart, Google Pay, bought it, it's coming to my house, right? So I think that just the interface of it and the speed of it makes it very valuable, right, to certain types of companies. But also it's about making that content that fits in with the style, right, of TikTok, to itself.
Awesome. Well, Darrell, it was an honor to have you on the NTM Growth Marketing Podcast. Loved your storytelling, loved your insights, and thank you so much for coming on today.
Super cool and awesome. Thank you very much, buddy.